Good afternoon. Yeah, for those who came late, my name is Dr. Roslida Marocco. I'm the chair of Department of Information Technology. Now we have in the Department of Information Technology, which falls under the School of Computing and Informatics, we have various programs from certificate to PhD. So in the Department of Information Technology, we have Masters of Science in Information Technology, and we have a PhD in Information Technology. So I'm not bragging, but I think it is one of the universities that is doing very well in postgraduate IT. Now, even here I have one of my students, Amos Kiptum, is a first-year master's student. Yeah, I have many people here taking mathematics and computing. You are most welcomed. I also crossed over to IT at Masters. So you can see you can also cross over. Then in the Department of Computer Science, we have programs. I'm also telling you the other so that I know you have siblings, you have children, and also your students, you let them know the programs that we have. So in the Department of Computer Science, we have Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, we have Masters of Science Data Forensic, and then we also have Cybersecurity and Computer Science. So you are most welcome to apply. And we also offer, we have TVET, and we offer very many courses, computing related courses under TVET. So that is what we are in our department and school. And for this program, I'm also a member of the team of the researchers, and by the grace of God, in the Kibabii team, I'm the only female. No, in this project, not in our school. Our school, we have, in fact, in our school, we have. Four female doctors, 2 in IT and 2 in computer science. So we are doing well. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to talk about effective instructional strategies for gender and equality and inclusivity in mathematics. So this program, the MIPIP, aims to promote teacher use of strategies that promote gender equality and inclusivity in mathematics. And this includes teachers working together in their PLCs, in the analysis of learner errors, sharing on data-driven strategies and use of the learning management system. Now, it also aims to understand the cause and the thinking behind the errors and how to address these errors. So we have, as even the presenters before me had talked about, the error categories. We have error category analysis. So in error category analysis, we identify the type of errors in mathematical tasks. Now, I hope as mathematical teachers, are there errors that are only common to the females and errors that are common to the male child? So we want to categorize these errors. Now, once the errors are categorized, then they are the classification of errors. Now, if I was to talk about, because we are going to use the digital platforms, now it becomes very easy to classify errors in computing. So the errors could be reading, comprehension, transformation, processing, and also encoding. Now, encoding is like, for example, you are translating. You could be translating from the paper, the question paper, and what you write something different from what is on the paper. So we have such kinds of errors. So this we need to classify, and then another practice will be learner reasoning behind the errors. We are working, as you know, that this is a learner-centered, and we are working very close. We'll be working very closely with the learners. We have the questions that elicit learner thinking when getting started. We want to elicit their thinking. We want to provoke them, to inculcate that the thinking, the analytical thinking in our learners. So while working, they reflect about the solutions, responding to them, to the errors. So this will help them clarify thinking and even for learner thinking behind what the errors are. Because if the learners know what the errors they make, they know how these errors come about. Now, for those of us who are teaching programming, we understand when you combine programming and mathematics, it is very very easy even to analyze the errors. You look at it. What did the error come? Is it because of reasoning? Is it because of logic thinking? Because sometimes you get an answer wrong, not because you misinterpreted. And sometimes you get the answer wrong because of reasoning. So like I bought a lot of some from maybe from programming. So there are problems that you can solve by making decision. Like I want to go, either you take this kind of action or the other. But then instead of the student thinking that way, they think another way. That is some cause that could also cause the reason behind the errors. Logical, we also have syntax, even semantics. They're reading, they don't understand. They can read, but they don't understand. So we need to guide the inquiry as a strategy. Remember, we have said that here the teacher is taking a role of guiding, but the learner is at the center of learning. So the teacher is not the center of knowledge, but we want the learner to take part in the knowledge, in acquiring the knowledge. So this one will deepen and understand serious mathematical thinking and also problem solving. Now we are looking at these instructional practices for gender equality and inclusivity. Now the other practice is explicit systematic instruction. Now that is teaching a specific skill or concept in a highly structured environment using direct language. You use direct language, not language that a language that is ambiguous. If it is language that is not clear, the learners may misinterpret even very, very simple tasks. And direct language and cooperating modeling. It is very, very important to incorporate, because when we incorporate modeling in our instructional practices, the learners learn how to do it by themselves, and they become independent. Now, the next is universal design techniques for learning. Teachers' involvement. These teachers must be involved and use multiple methods of engagement. Now, and also representation and expression and assessment. The multiple methods that we are talking about, we have talked about group work. That is another method. We can talk about simulation. We get difficult ideas and we try to simplify them by using digital techniques. So you simulate the difficult concepts. Now, I want to believe all of us have, you know what a firewall is in computing. Now, when I was struggling to understand firewall, I went online and I found context, the content simulated. So there was a brick wall and there was fire coming from the other side, and fire could not penetrate that wall. So that is how they illustrated the firewall. So we can also use simulation to package different ideas so that they can see it. They can see this and try to comprehend, because what you see, you comprehend better than what you read. Then process, the next practice is to process and content standards. Now this involves a set of guidelines. There must be standards that guide teachers, and this in developing and understanding the ownership of mathematical knowledge. Right now we are developing this knowledge. We need to understand what are the guidelines for us as teachers, for you as teachers, in understanding and also the ownership of the mathematical knowledge. Then the next is digital instruction content preparation. So based on the pedagogical practices, teachers and with their practices by teacher and learner activities, which are the learner activities and which are the teacher activities. Teachers, remember, we come together as the communities, and you will be collectively involved in the design of content. Now you are going to be trained on how to use the learning management system, because this content will be packaged in the learning management systems. I'm sure most of us know how to use the learning management system, but you will be trained on how to use it. And then the next is instructional content preparation. So based on the language of instructions and the suggested activities, teachers will have the opportunity to share the experiences that they have gained as they design, as they implement, and reflect on the lessons as a team. The next is the language. Learner-centered. This will be learner-centered, and we want to use local examples as much as possible. Now, you realize that in many of our books, or when you go online, we have been told before, even Professor told us that we are trying to use content that are meant for other countries. They are not meant for us. And most of those books, when you go, you find the pictures are even white people. Then you wonder, what about us? So let us use as much as possible the local names, the local objects, the local instructions. Now, learner-based problem solving activities should be learner-based problem solving. They should clearly be illustrated with tasks for both learners and teachers. Now, and this should be done in small groups. and individuals. For example, we can use varied examples based on the syllabus, based on the skill development as per the substrands and the strands in our syllabus. Now, remember, when we are moving from 844 to TBC, we'll be dealing with the strands and substrands. So, and we need also to have work exercises that are provided. These exercises should be leading the learners. Let hints be provided. Let the formulas and steps be illustrated so well that when we don't bombard the learners with a lot of information that is not well explained, and that is what makes some learners not fear or hate mathematics. Now, I have been teaching programming, and one time we were teaching online in 2020, and teaching programming online was not easy. And then I realized one day I went online, and before a student forgot to switch off, to mute, and then she started saying, now she's here again. And she was talking to her sister. Amekuja tena. Hizo vitu ngumu ngumu. So, you know, and I just kept on listening. I didn't talk, and I was like, now, have I failed as a teacher? Have I failed as a lecturer? In fact, I didn't talk. I just kept quiet until the others started making noise. And they said, remove her. Remove her from the wall. So she was removed by the admin. And then later on, she sent me a message at night, and she told me, Madam, I'm very sorry. It was my sister talking, which was not true. Which was not true. So I thought, I actually asked myself, have I failed? To me, it was like I have failed, because she's, and I was wondering now, I don't even know where she is, and now she's here again. And so when we finally met, she came and explained to me and told me, you know, Madam, it was my sister. And I just told her, you just say the truth. It was you, because your voice, unless you really sound like your sister, but it was you. But you remember, I kept quiet. I didn't take it against you, because I also understand that programming for the first time is difficult. And I also went through what you went through. And because I explained to that, she left my office man. So sometimes, you see, then that one made me know how to tackle. From that day, I changed my approach of teaching. Even when they came, I decided now what I'll do when I will be putting them in groups as I start teaching programming, and then I start from mathematics point of view before I come to programming. And I've seen it has worked. So sometimes let us not start and make them haters, not because of who we are, but because of what we are, how we are delivering and packaging. So then let us also, another practice is probing and pushing question techniques. Let us use open-ended or higher order question that not only extend knowledge, but also go beyond the factual recall. Now, this one helps because we are moving from cramming. Yeah, because if you don't give them higher order questions, they will cram. And I remember sometimes when you were talking, you know how we used to cram formulas, and you are, Max, you know how we used to cram formulas, and you are saying this one, here I'm not understanding. So let me just write and I repeat and I repeat until it sticks. That was cramming formulas. Let us go beyond that. Let us ensure that our students can use the previous knowledge that they have learned, not that to explore and develop new concepts and procedures. So they can only do that if they internalize the concepts. That is when they can move to higher order questions. Then also set questions that may be helpful in improving student mathematical thinking and character building. So those are the kind of questions that we need to set. Also, we enable the students to make sense of the problem and persevere in solving them. As the teachers are encouraged to use effective questioning styles. And again, as I talk about gender, I cannot fail to say that as you use effective questioning, let us not call them like you boy, you girl. If you don't know, we were told as teachers that you need to know your student. It's better to refer to them as learners or as students. Now, what are the implications of gender and inclusivity? It is to enhance the use of data to inform and improve the practice. We have developed, templates have been developed with guidelines on effective instructional practices. Remember, another thing that we need to do as we teach, let us make our learners feel that they are all equal. Even we have learners with disabilities, we have learners also who come from backgrounds that are disadvantaged. In gender inclusivity, we want to make sure that our learners feel that they are equal. And I had a student who was on a disabled student. She was physically challenged, and he was doing information technology. He graduated. So when it came to taking him for attachment, it was very difficult even to look for a place in town. How is he going to cross the roads? Because he used to be assisted by students. So I decided to look for a place for him, and the only place I got was in Kibabii, where he was living within the establishment. And this is what happened. The parents called me, no, the guardian was and they called me and told me that you are not, are you using your common sense? Then I wondered, what I'm thinking, let us involve even parents as we do this. Are you using your common sense? So I wondered, what about that? How do you take a crippled person to Kilifi? Then I told them that is the only place I got. And by the way, I'm not entitled to look for a place, but I went out of my way to look for a place. I will take him there. I myself will come and take him from Kisumu and take him out to Kilifi. And that is exactly what he did. And you know what he told me? Why did he do a course that he could not do? He should have chosen a course that he would do. You know, that is discrimination, isn't it? Because let us not discriminate. And you can imagine discrimination coming from home. He needed to have chosen a course. So let us, what do we do at the implication of analysis of learner errors? This will make the teachers understand the course, that the teachers will think behind the errors, and they will also think of how to address address the errors. Now, therefore, teachers are encouraged to use good questions that also raise motivation and interest of students to learn mathematics among all the students, and also promote gender equity and inclusivity. And just as somebody had said, I taught in a school where maths was better performed by than CRE and history. You get the maths mean used to be 11 points, even if there are 8 streams. Yeah. And this is not because they are better students, it's because of what I'm seeing here. And I was telling some of you that whatever we are bringing, whatever we are doing in this project, some schools have started doing it a long time in their own small way, and it has been making them. So I want to believe that as teachers of Bungoma, as the teachers here that we are starting with in this region and all the others, we are going to improve our means, because we are now going to do things right, and things that we have not been doing right. So the teacher, we learn the art of asking questions. So the teachers will practice and use effective questioning strategies or styles, which will improve the students' curiosity, critical thinking, and reflection. Now, because of the teachers will then be able to help students to work together to make sense of mathematics, learn to reason mathematically, learn to invent, learn to solve problems, connect mathematics and ideas to complex applications. By the way, there is no application here that can be done without mathematics. All applications, whether in business, anywhere, mathematics must be involved. And therefore, mathematics is a very important subject and the cornerstone. Therefore, we are encouraged to use explicit systematic instruction strategies that are learner-centered. That is what we are encouraging. And at the end of this project, this is what we want to make out of the teachers that are being trained. And we hope that this will be scaled up to cover the other regions. Now, teachers are also encouraged to use universal design techniques. What we had talked about, the multiple methods of engagement, representations, expression, and assessment. All these should aim to encourage the involvement of all students and promote gender equity and inclusivity. Because we want to bring, we want everyone, all the learners, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their social status, to learn to be actively involved in learning mathematics. Okay, so teachers, teachers should also will be involved in developing instructional content materials. This training, as you are trained, you will be developing instructional materials that are learner-centered. You will be involved in developing material, instructional content. You will also be, develop an understanding of the process and content standards that promote standardized instructional materials. So another implication is that teachers, after going through this, teachers are encouraged to develop student problem solving and disposition. And this is done by creating and maintaining a classroom environment that encourages learners to learn mathematics. How is your classroom? I remember some classrooms are in such a way that you are encouraged, you go to classroom of mathematics, you find even you find the models. You find the models and you can tell that this is a classroom of where mathematics is taught. When we were doing teaching practice, people would carry, you would develop those models and carry what the teachers are to do.
Thank you so much. The next presenter is the PI, Professor Martin Wangela Sibweche. He has so many names. We've listened to him before. He is going to wrap it up so that we're able to get the nitty-gritties of a clap for him.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kati. I want to briefly talk about conversations and facilitation of PLCs. Remember, this is the key innovation, so that by the end of this session, we should be able to have meaningful discussions in our PLCs. We have a framework that we will be using for analysis, but we encourage you to discuss the way we do it. But in our actual to ensure that we have meaningful discussions, because at the end, we analyze those audios and videos, so that we must be able to determine how much time you spend talking about the learner, the content, and how you work together. So according to our framework, when we're starting a conversation in our PLCs, we have the setup, when you set up the conversation, and then closure and off topic. Also, when you are meeting, you introduce each other, you greet each other. That is under setup. So what we are interested in is the kind of moves you make. Because we want you to have a productive discussion, the kind of moves you make as a facilitator to ensure that your members focus on the big priorities. So how you start it. So there are three key issues. There's the activity, content, and the depth. After setting up a discussion, when you talk about the learner, there are moves you make when you talk about the learner, then at some point you talk about the mathematics. That's when now you are focusing on content, mathematics content. As per the topics. Then when you talk about the practices, what you do now. So during your discussions, whenever you'll be talking about those key elements, then the MIPI priorities, now that's where you come in now. When you talk about what we emphasize in MIPI. Then the depths of discussion, when you are making a discussion at times, there are different levels. The first level is just when you talk about the issues. As you move on, the second level, you try to elaborate on what you are talking about. The third level, you elaborate and give examples. You relate. Then the final level, the higher level, that is when you push a discussion to the higher level where whenever you talk about something, there are prepositions or you hypothesize something or you give reasons as to why you are saying that. So in MIPIP, we encourage you, we will orient you to this so that when you will be discussing in your group, for you to have a meaningful discussions, you'll be discussing how we'll be setting up the meeting. So as a facilitator now, you need to use particular moves that encourage your members to concentrate. The reason why we are orienting you conversation is because we want you to have meaningful discussion. So as you meet PLCs, when starting conversation at times, you just bring members on board. It is part of the discussion, because as you do that, it will encourage you now. So as facilitators now, that will enable you now to ensure that your members are focused on what you want them to discuss, or as they focus on the MIPI priorities. When you talk about facilitations, the essence of this training is for us to share insights on how best we can facilitate productive discussions. In MIPIP, we've come up with a framework which we'll use for analysis. So whenever we receive your videos and audios, we will analyze that data using the Studio Code software so that in the end, we shall be able to determine the time you focused on the priorities of MIPIP. So when we come to facilitation of a discussion, there are three different types of moves: the process, content, and community. When you talk about the process, is how you ignite your members to open up and participate in the discussion. The process on its own has different moves. Like when you manage a discussion, when you introduce, you call people to present, you ask for comment, at times you end topic, you allocate something, then you repeat. Those are the moves a facilitator can use to manage a conversation. Then to maintain a conversation, there are also moves that you make. Like you can revoice, repeating a particular concept with an emphasis of enabling people to understand what is hidden or what they cannot be able to see. They also have, under maintaining, you have clarify. You clarify something during the discussion. Pushing, like when you are pushing your members to talk about an idea. That is a move you can make as a facilitator. Then giving time, making links, maybe you link to whatever you understand or to the research, and drawing together when you are summing up. So that is how you can maintain a discussion. Then it moves, this comes in when during a discussion you air out something new that you want your members to understand. That is why we call that as input, so that when you are explaining, you are giving answers, you are clarifying, like you talk about something based on your experience or research. That is now the input moves. Then on the content, that is now during your discussion, I've already listened to some videos from other areas. During the discussion, when you focus on content now, that also has learner moves, mathematics, practice, and MIPIP. When you will be talking about the learner, this is how the learner behave. You will be now focusing on the learner. When you will be talking about what you do as a teacher in class, how you teach a particular concept, or what you do to enhance learning, that is now the practice that you do. As you talk about it, you also encourage your colleagues to also implement it in their class. Then when you talk about mathematics moves now, when now you go deeper into the mathematics content, when you are discussing in your groups, when you talk about a probability concepts, whichever concept that you teach, that is now focus on mathematics moves. Then when now you go to MIPIP, you know MIPIP, we are after analyzing learner errors, interrogating learners on the causes of these errors, sharing amongst yourselves on how best they can be addressed, and learning from one another, preparing content together as mathematics teachers, because we intend to digitalize, as Dr. has just talked about. We've given you a template. That template is to guide you on the kind of activities, methods, media that you can suggest that can be used to teach that particular content, and even the worked examples and exercises, so that when we input on board on the learning management system, the materials will be standardized. So whenever you are discussing in your PLCs, when you are talking about content, is now when you are focusing on the MIPIP priorities. That is what we encourage you. But that does not mean that you should just keep on following this. Just discuss normally, because as you just do that normally, with the time you'll just get to learn about this. Then we'll be interacting with you in school, so that when we come to your school and meet you and interact with you, and be able to ensure that you are focused on the content. That is a skill we want you to master, so that you can be able to share this innovation in other subjects and with other teachers. So that when you are having discussions, ensure that you focus on what you are doing in MIPIP. And there's no way you'll keep on talking about these GEI practices and fail to implement. Even if you fail to implement, if I'm talking about those practices, we'll implement them with time. Because we also encourage such discussions with students in class. Then when it comes to community building a discussion, community is when you are trying to ensure that you work with each other, you are at ease in airing your opinions. So we've categorized moves, the kind of moves that you make to encourage each other to participate in a conversation or a discussion. That is why, like validating and affirming ideas, when you come up with an idea, then you validate. Those are part of the community moves. Those are the moves you make as a facilitator to encourage members to work together. Remember, the innovation is teachers working together in groups of 3 to 5 to share ideas and work collectively towards addressing the challenges we have in the teaching and learning of mathematics. So during a discussion, as a facilitator, those are the moves you make to ensure that your members are focused on what you want them to learn, or what you want to learn from another. So remember, as we'll be discussing your PLCs, we'll be analyzing that particular data and we'll be able to compute and be able to determine how much time you spend discussing and how you focus on the MIPI priority. So as we sum up, as we talk about instructional content development, we emphasize that as you prepare the content, you follow the teaching and learning principles. Simple to complex. Known to unknown. So when that time comes, and remember, we will be preparing content for the CBC grade 8, 9, grade 7, 8, and 9. So we will share topics amongst the schools. Then as we'll be preparing that content, know very well we shall be following the CBC format. That is why we've provided you with that template. But what we are after to get from you as teachers of mathematics based on your experience, we want you to come up with appropriate examples and exercises, activities, and suggest media that can be used to teach particular concepts to learners. And suggest activities that cater for all learners in class. That's why we advise to vary examples, vary materials, vary methods and strategies, and ensure that the classroom dynamics you initiate in class cater for all learners. So as you prepare that content, you will be discussing in groups. You select particular examples that are appropriate. In your current teaching, you can still implement the same. When you share together in preparation of content, you'll be in a position to help each other, take advantage of each other's strengths and weaknesses. So as we wrap up this particular workshop, because I've talked about the presentations we made, we are also doing a baseline. We'll share the link so that you fill those questionnaires for us before you leave. And that is what Professor Mayo is going to talk about, the kind of tools you're filling. We've digitalized them, you can access them so that you go through them as you improve the instructional practice. Professor Mayo, you can quickly talk about the monitoring tools as we wrap up for the training session.
Thank you so much. I will do it in the next 1 minute. So, in any event, the funder and also the stakeholder will be interested to know how you do it. That will mean evidence becomes core. So, we have developed some tools which assess. You say that you had a meeting for PLC. So, you're supposed to show evidence that may take place. And that's why you came, those registration, you have registered. Which registration will show that you attended, you participated, this is what you've done. So, we have about 5 questions which are supposed to be filling it. It's online. I don't know if you can give the link. Can you? It was just a link. So we have the first one is about self-evaluation assessment, how you are able to assess yourself. And then we have, I need to open it very fast, the link through the link. So we make it easy that through the WhatsApp group, you're able to access these particular tools, which will assist us in terms of monitoring and knowing that is takes place within the school. We will also be able to visit you, and also to have a time to engage and share the experiences. Of course, we expect that as we move on, there will be some innovation, there will be some knowledge, there will be some good practices that you will be able to develop as you continue to implement the project. And that is what we're interested on, to pick up the best practices so that we can tell the other schools who are participating that this is the way to go. Because we're not able to reach all the schools. We are only having a few schools in those 30 or 11 counties. So out of those presentation and filling those tools, we will be able to develop maybe the report and see the good practices so that we can share. I don't know if you have been able to get it. It's okay. Yeah, I know time has moved. We promised to finish by exactly 4. And I believe we should be either a few minutes, 6 minutes past 4. So maybe we can agree that I will send the link to the WhatsApp group. And you will be able to open that link, and you'll be able to go through how to fill it. So I think that will be quite easier for all of us so that we don't take much of the time.
There is a link we have to the website. So with that link, you can access the tools. You only fill 3, 4, and 5. Take note of that. 3, 4, and 5. It has several even guides, whatever we've been talking about. We will also share slides with you. We'll ensure you have all those materials. But when you go to that link, go to questionnaire links and fill for us 3, 4, and 5 for the baseline, so that as you implement those particular practices, we shall have a glimpse of your perceptions towards PLCs and this particular project.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to welcome Dr. Kati. In education, we have programs from bachelor's. We have 3 programs. We have masters in curriculum, masters in education planning, masters in technology, and also masters in childhood. We also have PhD in educational planning and management, educational management and policy studies. We also have economics of education, and we have PhD in curriculum studies. So some of us are our students. We are very happy, and we encourage our mode of learning. We do virtual and also physical. So we are flexible. I know we have had from West Pokot. We also had students from, last time we had students from Kambani joining. And then during the school's close, they'll come and do the exam. So you encourage us teachers also, think of also developing yourself and coming for those courses. Karibuni sana.
Thank you so much. You can visit our website for a number of our programs. It's now time for Way Forward. Mzito mwenyewe, Way Forward. Tough. Tough.
Sindio, where are the other microphones? Tough. We get reactions from the floor. Number 1, number 2, number 3. So there are only 3. All the 3.
Thank you. I have some comments to make. Dr. Morocco talked about language in setting items, test items. And I'm happy Nick is here because here in the village, students do not interact with the dice. This is a question on probability. So anytime they set about dice, mtoto anashanga, dice ni nini? Can we also learn from this so that we can use examples that are locally from local materials? Kindly pass that information to Dr. Njegere. And then number 2, our PI and the team, we hoped that we will be guided on how to fill the logs, because that is part of evidence. I have not heard about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Please pass.
Thank you. My name is Donald Muhwana, teacher at Baptist Girls. I have some few comments to make also, but first is to say that I know he's on the phone, but to say that I'm a mathematics and history teacher. And I know when I see Professor Wanjala, I must be smiling. Secondly, Professor Mayo was my classmate, and I'm proud to be here as listening to him. What I wanted to say is that I would have wished that when he implements this program of ours, especially those who are new to it, if we could have had something like a video on how that collection of data in the classroom is done, the recording and all that. Because as we all know, the use of visual media is very, very powerful. And if before you come to our schools, if we could organize maybe a simulation of what is to happen, it will really help us in implementing this program. Finally, I will also wish that the universities, now that we have various stakeholders here, to improve the attitude towards this program and even the students towards mathematics, we can, the universities can help us to access especially the audiovisual resources on careers, because most of our students actually do not know how mathematics is useful in various careers. But if we can have those resources, it will really make those students cooperate on this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dorcas Matolo from Teremi High School. My question is outside what we have learned here. Will you allow me to ask the question?
Uliza.
Thank you. My question goes to the NEC official. Some of the examiners last year, the invitation for marking were revoked. And when you try to ask the CUPET official to assist us to go for marking, we were told to go and face NEC personally, individually. Now that you are here, I'm asking, what will happen to these examiners that were revoked from marking last year? And what is your plan? Because some of them, they used to take that money, they pay school fees. If at all they were, and you know, it was said you speculated their schools were involved in cheating, and yet maybe my school was not involved in cheating. How will you treat me? Will you be in a position to refund me that money that I missed? Or what is it? Thank you.
Very good. She asked for permission to ask something outside, and we allowed her, and she has asked. Okay? She has said on behalf of the many, and I want that we start with that one, because that is of interest. It's not here, no?
Oh, thank you. I think for that particular question, yes, last year there are some schools which we had removed their teachers from marking the examiners, and there were some reasons why they were not called for the marking. For the marking exercise, I believe that examiners, you know that for you to be removed or to be retired as an examiner, there is a process. And the process, normally, you'll get that the issues will be raised. There's a committee which handle the examination issues. And I'm even the chair of that committee. So you get that we didn't retire examiners. We have a big database of examiners. So if you didn't mark last year, it doesn't mean that you are retired, because the SMS didn't talk about retiring. Yeah, so all of you who are not called for marking, you are still in the database, and you have not been retired. So don't get an issue. When we retire, we normally send a letter telling you you have retired and the reason. So don't be worried on that.
I see the CUPET official clapping and others are not clapping. My brother, are your members now comfortable? You are comfortable with an answer to tell your members? They are safe. Thank you. Morocco. The issue of a die. The issue of language. When teaching probability. That a die is tossed how many times? Once. Find the probability that a 6 will appear. But we can use a coin, Hayota. What is it there? And we can improvise a die. Madam, respond. You talked of language.
Yeah, it's advisable that we use language. Like many students, I'm sure, do not know what a die is. So why don't we say, can't the questions be set using examples that are locally available? What about if, would it be wrong if they used even a coin to toss a coin? There's the probability of a tail, a probability of getting ahead, isn't it?
That is your opinion. I see the ministry very uncomfortable.
Locally,
Please. These are the debates we want.
Material preparation. Do you prepare materials for instructional in school? We have some materials that you as a teacher, you'd even give a student to go and give instructions. When you come tomorrow, do this. A son of or a daughter of a carpenter, they can come with what piece of wood that, yes. Then now for you, you will write the faces on that. I want those children to learn and know what a die is. And that's why we send them. That's why the ministry has an obligation to teach those children. And we teach them through schools where you work.
And in the books, they talk of, and even past papers, they talk of a die. So as a teacher, I ought to have shared with them and described what a die is, if not improvised.
And we are what we call teacher preparation, teacher preparedness for a lesson. Teacher preparedness. When we observe your lessons, we want to see whether indeed you are prepared to teach that lesson or you are not. When we see you come with some prepared instructional material, we become excited. That's a tick. When we see you asking a child to perform an activity in class, to work out a sum in class, that's a tick. Those are the things we want, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. PI. People, teachers, expected to know how to fill the logs.
Let me explain that. We have the logs. As you discuss in your PLC, you also evaluate yourself on how you are picking up the idea of professional learning communities. There is a questionnaire you fill weekly, so that when we visit your school, you should give the university-based researcher. Then as you meet in your discussions, there are logs that you fill. If you just check those logs, you indicate the members present, whatever you've discussed, what you've learned out of that, and what you are planning to do. So you need to keep those logs, because those logs will even help us in facilitating, because we are talking of a certain number of recorded videos and audios when you meet discussing about your experiences with the learners on the strategies. So the more meetings you have, the better. We've also digitalized them. You can be able to feel as you feel, you can be able to get the data. So as you discuss in your groups, always ensure you fill those meeting logs. You can print and just fill, or you can even fill online. There's the team target tool. You just respond to it individually. Then you look at the responses in groups and discuss them. So whenever you have a meeting, a session, it might be a session maybe reflecting on a lesson or designing a lesson or sharing experiences. Those are still the MIPIP priorities. Like in a departmental meeting, for instance, you decide to focus on the MIPIP priorities. As you share, what we expect from you are the recordings. So keep records. Huh? Keep records of those meetings, because as I said, we will facilitate them, and it is 10,000 per individual teacher, not per PLC, because we've computed every meeting has some amount. So as you meet in your discussions, record the videos and all. That's what we only need. Then focus on the MIPI priorities. After a meeting, you fill those logs. Huh? Because when the university-based researcher comes to your station, that is what the researcher needs from you. Give him or her the logs, indicating the names, what you discussed, and what you are planning. It's just very simple. It will help us in monitoring and evaluation so that we know what you do. But we encourage you to focus on the MIPI priorities. As we said earlier, when you have an episode, or when you've carried out maybe an interview with the learner, share with your fellow teachers, team teach, encourage your teachers to observe your lessons, and you fill. So for those logs, you can fill them online. I've shared a link. Huh? I don't know whether there's, just confirm on your WhatsApp. I've shared a link. So when you open, you go to questionnaire links, then you fill for us 3, 4, and 5. Where we, when you access that website, we also have all these guides. We will also put the slides, and I'll also keep on sharing the materials in your WhatsApp, on your WhatsApp forums, plus those tools, so that you can be filling them online whenever you have a discussion. There are just 3 key: the team target, the self progress in terms of the team, and those of observing each other as you implement the effective practices. So just fill them. We will be picking them as we pass by.
Thank you so much, PI. Makofi kwake. Now, closing remarks, word of thanks and prayer. Professor Mayo.